James, starting verse 12. Blessed is a man who perseveres under trial, for once has been approved, he will receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself does not tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is carried away and enticed by his own lust. Then when lust has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and when sin is fully matured, it brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brothers. Every good thing given and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shifting shadow. In the exercise of his will, he brought us forth by the word of truth, so that we would be a kind of first fruits among his creatures. Know this, my beloved brothers, but everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For the anger of man does not achieve the righteousness of God. Therefore, laying aside all filthiness and all the remains of wickedness, in gentleness receive the implanted word, which is able to save your souls. So we'll stop there. Again, the chapter 1 of James is really about the essence of what religion is. That's the whole picture here of what James has been building up to. And as we just read, there was things that he talks about this trial. Verse 2 is the trial. Everything is about enduring through a trial. So the presumption is everyone is going to have a trial. It's not if you qualify, you get to bypass all trials or anything like that. Kind of wish it was, right? I wish I could be smart enough to avoid those trials. It's not going to happen. So the presumption is all that. And some folks think that trials are because you sinned, and so therefore, if you have trials, if you have a lot of trials, you must be a lot of sinner. That kind of an idea going on. And James is trying to say, no, that's not the way that is working. He talks about all that. But he does add to the fact that, your sins can be the cause of some trials, right? And that's that temptation he talks about. So we get into, last week we talked about the good things from above, the gifts that God gives us. And we get into 19, and mine starts with know this. Do you guys have so that?
Remember this.
Remember this.
Wherefore.
Therefore.
Wherefore.
Wherefore. Okay.
Understand this.
Understand this.
Take note of this.
Take note. Yeah. I like
This
that.
you know.
Oh, is it right? Wow. So what do you think he's trying to say in those two words? Pay attention. Pay attention. Stop, and just take note of what we're about to say this. And he addresses to whom? The beloved brothers. So again, he's talking to Christians. And keep us in context. Which Christians? The Jewish Christians, right? They're the ones from the dispersion. Remember Jerusalem is where all the Jews, and that's where we had the early first Christians, right? I kind of think about that. It's kind of weird, but they were the ones most persecuted and then taken, had to leave the area, right? So he's saying, take note of this, my Jewish brothers, but everyone must be quick to hear. And he lists out hear, speak, and anger. Does everyone have that phrase, but everyone must be? Does anyone have let?
Mm-hmm. But let everyone be.
But let
Every man should be.
Should be? Yeah. When he starts saying that phrase, and he starts to list out these three things here, is that a command? What is he trying to say here? That this is it? Let me ask it this way: when we read things about like a command in the Bible, is that well, are there different kinds of commands? In other words, there's strong recommendations. There's a command that if you don't, you die. You know what I'm saying? There's these levels of kinds of commands. What kind of command then is this? Is this if you violate this, you lose your salvation? Or
I think this is generally, this is the way you conduct yourself. Like,
Moral.
prevalently, you know, in the absence of any other input, this is how you conduct yourself. Does that help?
yeah, I keep thinking, so that it goes well with you, do this.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of where I'm thinking. I remember my dad many times saying, "Don't you think it would be better?"
Yeah.
Dot dot dot.
Right, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
But he was trying to get it to come from you.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
idea to
I
do
want
this.
you to think how good of an action this would be instead of me telling you what to do. And I get a sense that's what James is trying to lead them into understanding what would be best.
I think we see a back and forth here too. If you go back to 18, when it says, "In the exercise of his will, so that we might be, as it were, first fruits among his creatures." So God has done a work so that we can be first fruits. But then in 19 it says, well, my version says, "This you know." So in other words, you know that God did this. But let everyone, in other words, God has done what he's going to do, but you have a part to play also. And this is the part that you have to play also. God has done his work. Now there are things, because you're a believer, these are some things that you need to do because of what God has done in you.
Yeah, and I think of it like human nature, and me more so than anyone I know, and quick to speak, quick to react. If something goes wrong, I'll snap, and I'll have that anger, and it's really psychologically, especially according to my wife, I'm like a control freak. So as soon as something goes,
She's right.
oh God, yeah, definitely. And not just to her, everyone, because that's her thing too. Just ask anyone; they'll agree with me. But looking back upon my life, truly, the first thing I do is that visceral reaction is loud, anger, freak out, talk, yell, whatever. And then I'll be the first to come in and say, "Man, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." You know, that's just the way I'm like wired, unfortunately. So I think here is that might be somewhat human nature, is to respond that way, but be slow to anger, listen more than you speak, and things will go. Things will be much better for everybody involved, and especially as you were saying about being the first fruit, being that leader. Like he's blessed us already with this knowledge, so overcome that human carnal nature, and as a leader, it'll be better and wiser and more beneficial in your ministry to listen to them where they are, meet them where they are, as God has met us where we are, and so forth. So,
Well, I think the answer is in 20 also.
Are you looking ahead?
Yeah, I'm cheating. I'm good at that. But, because, after you do the first two, we know that what he just said, you're not going to produce the righteousness of God by your anger. I used to always think that.
Yeah, so if God has done his part, but we haven't done our part, then the righteousness of God is not going to be expressed, right? It'll be expressed in us, but if we have a part to play in allowing his righteousness to flow through us, right? And we do that by doing the things that he's saying here, being slow to speak, slow to anger, those types of things. They're a part that we have to play to open that valve and allow the Holy Spirit to flow through us. He's done his part, we got to do our part. Not in salvation, but in the way we project who he is in us.
Did you about to say something?
Quick to listen to what?
Yeah.
What are we listening to? Or who are we listening to?
It's a good question.
I feel like God is saying, be quick to listen to me, or your Holy Spirit of what I want you to do.
And not quick to listen to yourself.
Right, well, then the next one would be slow to speak, meaning I don't want to hear your version of it right away. Listen to what I say, ponder on it before you come up with your, like your dad would say, I would,
These are all connected to the word of truth, obviously, and then we know that there's a deep connection from the book of Job on wisdom and suffering. And so, there's something to be said about the wisdom of God, and Job talks about that in, if you ever read through Job, I think it is a chiasm, and I think the center of it is Job's wisdom, and he learns that, and he speaks that.
But many times when you've heard the term active listening and all this sort of stuff, but a lot of times when you listen to someone, you're not listening to what they're saying. You're listening so you can do a counter argument.
you've already defended your thought.
You formulated your next response to it.
And so you're not actually listening to what he's saying, other than to, oh, I can poke hole in that, or I can throw that back at him, or I have an example of that. As opposed to really understanding, and I think that's, our society has gotten to where it's even more, polarized in that way. They're not listening to each other. They're looking for something stupid this person says so they can hurl it back at
To
them.
pounce, yeah.
And it's that hearing, almost like pause, take it in before you think, okay, now how can that affect me? Is there any truth in that I can pull out? It's just in general, I'm not talking about from God, but that we're terrible about that. And I don't know if it comes back to, when you were talking about, maybe mention or think about, the primal, back in the old days, it was flight or fright, You didn't have time to sit and ponder when there's a saber-toothed tiger coming at you. You had to do something. So your immediate reaction is defend. I got to defend from all threats, and everything is a threat until proven otherwise. And so your first reaction is to almost violently go against anything coming at you, even though the saber-toothed tiger is trying to help you out in whatever way.
Yeah.
Dumb example, but it's that, defend. We're everything is against us, so we're obviously maybe not right 100%, but we have to push back on whatever's coming at us.
Well, and I think a lot of it too also comes from a point of weakness to the extent where if you're strong in the word and you have that confidence, and not of ourselves, but just the power of the Lord, let that shine through us. And again, not by words lest we boast kind of thing, but just that comforting knowledge of to hear them and again meet them where they are, because instead of formulating a response, we're already trying to think, we're affording them an opportunity to talk, but like you said, we're not really listening.
Right.
So we already think about what we're going to say next. Whereas if you listen more, slow to speak, and especially without anger, by having that confidence of you're representing Christ, because one of the things, I'm like the biggest hypocrite. I consider myself a Christian, yet what is my behavior? What does the world see? So I'm doing more for Satan through my actions than I am doing for the Lord in my words. So and this is something that I'm glad I'm here at this point, because this is right where I am.
So does this slow to speak, is it implying a prohibition of speaking?
Yeah.
I think,
Think about it.
Think about it.
Yeah.
you sit there and think about it, mister.
Like Jay said, everybody has,
In the corner you
You
go.
in the corner, go
everybody has
sit.
their own point
Yeah,
of view.
time out.
Yeah, that's right.
As soon as someone starts speaking to you, your point of view automatically comes up, whether it matches theirs or not. I think mine does. And so I'm immediately, all right, I'm either I'm bored with you, or we're gonna talk about this because I don't agree with you. And sometimes you can just, if you don't let the person finish, then sometimes you're just jumping off before you're thinking
Yeah.
clearly and say stuff maybe you
Dan,
shouldn't
you
have
want
said,
to
or
say something?
Yes. Yes, that.
Ditto.
Before the sentence is finished, you know. you-
yeah. I tend to be long-winded, and my wife will jump in before, and I'm like, you didn't even let me finish, like,
Yeah.
because if I,
If you're building a
Stretch
cake,
it
you
out.
wanted to make sure that you
Right,
get
right.
all these in.
Well, you're still saying the
I want to
sentence.
justify myself. That's right.
Well, what I was gonna say was God is, he's an expert at rewiring us. You know, we're saying, well, and it is our nature, like my nature is the opposite of what it says here. You know what I mean? I wanna fight the tiger, you know what I mean, so to speak. But God, you know, we're told in, what is it, Colossians maybe, that, you know, have an eternal perspective. Don't just be thinking about, you know, right now. Don't have a temporal perspective. Have an eternal perspective. And it's not us that can change our hearts. I can't change my heart, you know, and people try out there, you know, in the world, and they're just commit a new set of sins, you know what I mean? It's like they don't, and so, but God is an expert at rewiring us, where he says, you know, let me make you this person. And maybe this is what you were talking about, where our part of it is just to say yes.
Yeah, yeah. to
You know, it's
allow-
like we don't need to do anything, but we do need to open our hearts, right?
Right, we need to allow his work to flow through us.
Is that fair, Alan? Just,
And that's a daily transforming of our mind through the word. But the last thing, I think, it really sums up the basis of wisdom. You know, as you get older, you know, you think you're gonna become wise based on your experiences and the mistakes, and you learn and you change. But right there is, I think, the basis of wisdom, in that to be able to speak less, listen more, slow to anger, that's a wise man.
Yeah, there's a phrase that says, it always irritates me, that says, practice makes perfect. It's so not true. It's perfect practice makes
Right.
perfect.
That's right.
Because you can do the same thing over and over again and be wrong each and every
And
time.
you'll be great at
And
it.
you'll be great at being wrong, right?
You did really.
I wanted to talk about the phrase, I think each one has a different word, is swift or quick.
Quick.
What is the difference between swift and quick? And I did do a Google search.
Quick to me.
That's a great question.
So the Greek, because I had to look it up, right? And I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like taxis or something like that. I'm not the Greek guy here. James uses that one word, and it's the only time this word is used in the entire Bible, this Greek word. He used a very specific word for a specific reason. This idea of responsive, being responsive, and how you're responding, right? At which speed. So, quick is the timing of very, very quick to get it done. Don't let it take a long time. Swift is you're going to be steady and sure and consistently doing it at a good pace.
With intention.
With intention, you're going to do that. So both ideas are in that. And the scholars don't agree. Of course they don't. On which one is the better one to use. So you'll see that King James, I think, uses
Swift.
The English Standard uses quick. Mine uses quick.
New
Just-
American is,
you look at it, it's just, each translation has a different way of doing it, but it's either swift or quick. It's just kind of an interesting thing here.
so does the Greek word favor one or the other?
No,
It
no,
could be either.
it encapsulates both concepts altogether.
When I think of quickness, I think about
an unthinking response.
Yep, like a spinal cord reaction.
Yeah.
You
Right.
just- You just
Yes.
do it right.
This is what I do. When this happens, this. I have a decision tree
Right.
already made in my mind.
Right, and me, Swift is more of like an efficient route
Yeah.
to get to it, type of things. Not necessarily going through the bushes, but looking for the most efficient way that gets you a fast response. So both ways can work out. I'm building some stuff out in the barn right now, and I think I spend half my time thinking which way I should hammer that nail. I spend a great amount of time thinking, well, should I walk up to it and just do it? Or should I study it, look around?
Well, that's because you're retired.
Yes, what it is. It's probably what it is. I waste so much time thinking of those things.
I was gonna say, that's the most fun when you,
And you're not
Yeah,
getting paid.
but I
for
haven't
it.
gotten it done.
that's the beauty of it.
But the nail is still
That's the beauty
there.
of it.
I've never said that about myself. I waste too much time.
Yeah,
Oh, my.
well, I guess what I'm learning right now. Okay, so it's this prompt response type thing to listen or to hear. Slow to speak. Slow to speak what?
Anything.
Your point of view.
Yeah.
Is it a slowness for the purpose of accuracy or for the purpose of getting in front and being first? Because it's the second liar that doesn't stand a chance. It's always,
Yeah.
that type of idea. What's this slow to speak? Why are you having to slow that down?
Well, I think part of it is to slow it so you can have time for what you're hearing to sink in and you can think about it.
Yeah.
And the other part is to make sure you speak correctly as opposed to saying something off the cuff that might offend someone, be wrong, whatever. It's like, wait, pick your words carefully on your response. So I think it's a combination of input, output.
But also that making sure the person that you're supposed to be listening to, or the one speaking, is actually finished his or her thought.
Yeah.
And feels heard,
Yeah, that's
and
important.
like a
too.
little respect, right, so it minimizes the possible
That's
anger.
first, whatever.
That you feel you get brushed off, yes.
So you saying this from experience or?
No, I'm talking to Mickey.
From his experience.
It's a lucky guess.
Well, I was about to say, my wife, I have conversations with my wife as I'm driving across the causeway, she's not even in the car, and we argue.
You're arguing
And it's
back.
my fault, yeah.
The word conversation, the root is an idea of pounding a sound, is what that is. So that if you want to be heard, you hit it louder and louder and louder. The difference is dialogue, which is you speak, I speak, you speak, I speak, but I only do it after I have absorbed and understood what you've said, so that I can do what I say, and you can understand me. That's a dialogue, is what that is. I think sometimes we focus on conversations, just trying to be louder thump than the next thump is here.
Point of, how does this interface with today? Because I saw something recently about, everybody's got one cell phone or maybe two or three. But how many people actually use it as a phone? I mean, so many people communicate via text. And I just mean kids. It's like, so there's, I don't know, of course, how's that? I don't know, people don't talk.
Very dangerous.
So it's like, I have Teams meetings, calls, just as you might have emails and texts, it's like, can we get to a quick call? It'll take 30 seconds, then things get resolved.
You don't know how slow I am doing this.
Yeah.
Or actually,
A lot of people can text this many pages in
Yeah.
like 30 seconds,
Half a
I don't know how they
second.
do it.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, it's just
Well, I know, John, just to your point, I know there are a lot of times where I'll type out an email or a text and then read what I said and then go back and erase it.
yeah.
Right? And I think it's this whole idea that, I think the point here is not to get to the poor output, right? This whole thing is all about God has done a work in us, right? What are we doing, or how are we gonna work with what God has done in us? Not necessarily the other person, but in us taking control of how we react in the light of what God has done with us. We have that part to play, and how do we not get to a point of anger? And the way that we don't get to a point of anger is we be quick to hear, slow to speak. We think about what we're doing before we actually let those words come out of our mouth, or let that anger be expressed. Because we can feel angry inside of us, but until the sin comes, in many cases, when we allow that expression, right? We can be tempted to be angry, but we have to give ourselves over to that sin to let it be expressed, and when it becomes sin. So it's just like Jesus said, it's getting to the root of the cause. How do you get to the root of anger? You be quick to listen, slow to speak, and that gets us to the root of the sin.
When you think about anger, to me, I call it a secondary emotion. I mean, if I hit my thumb with a hammer, that's primary. That pain is
Yes.
there, whether I want it or not. It's
Yeah.
there. Anger is what I then respond with. It's a secondary thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, my thumb hurts, but do I yell and curse and kick the
Exactly.
cat? And,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or do I just sing hallelujah and, I'm literally,
Yeah.
it's just how you react. And so when especially with grandkids now, I'm seeing a lot of stuff that I should have seen 30 years ago, but that's another story. But, you see a child who's doesn't know any better. It's so easy to get angry. But yet you realize she doesn't have a clue. She's 18 months. She's
Right.
just learning to walk.
Right.
So to her now, the whole world is opened up because she can grab stuff. And, so I have to relax and say, you can't handle not the truth, so to speak, but you can't handle the complex. And I think that's the way God sees us. We're infants to Him. And so when we're angry and mad and all this bit, we're a 2-year-old throwing a temper tantrum because we can't get the candy on the checkout aisle. And that's the way I see my relationship with God, is that I'm just this very unformed juvenile. And He's trying to be patient and holding back the stuff I can't handle. But it's like, well, you need to stretch a little bit here.
Right.
And that's-
And I was just looking ahead to the next, 21 or so, because it mentions and humbly accept. So whereas I mentioned wisdom earlier, being able to humble ourselves to put that person's opinion, we might not agree, because the first thing we do with that anger, and it's almost kind of a prideful thing, like you don't know what you're talking about, and let me respond and tell you what that would. So that's listen to them, slow to speak, slow to anger. That's the humility
Mhm.
to, and it takes a little wisdom to be humble, So, anyway.
All right, well, we have to stop here. There is a whole lot more, so we only got through like 10 words or something. But we have to stop here for time. Wish we could. What are you guys praying for?